You know, these barristers, judges, solicitors, lawyers, they swore an oath to the Constitution, to Bunrat na hÉireann, to uphold that as the supreme law of this land. That's the game we're playing in this country. Like, they're the rules we're supposed to follow, and they're the rules that they're supposed to follow. When you end up in court, that's the book, that's, you know. What did they go by? Schnell's law, Schnell's equity, and Lewin's equity trust. Lewin on trusts, yeah? They learn all this stuff when they go to college or university or the King's Inn. They know all about fiduciary and usufruct and, you know? They know about principles and trusts, and they know we're the principle of the trust. They know how this land operates. They know all the Constitution articles. And they swore an oath to them, to uphold them. They're supposed to do that. And that's the trust between us and them. And that's how the law exists in this country. They're there because of us. Because we're supposed to trust them, to put them in positions of authority, to do the right thing and to go by the laws of that book. The rules. And as we can see right now, they're not doing that. You know, these judges, they've been handed a very high authority here to not uphold the rules that they're supposed to uphold breaks a monumental trust. And when the people see this and it spreads and all the people start to see it, the system starts to break down and the trust starts to leave. Article 1 and Article 6. Like, there's a lot of articles here. The whole book. That they're not upholding. So they're supposed to act in good faith and avoid conflicts and act solely for the benefit of those to whom the duty is owed. Are they doing that? So where fiduciary actually sits in law, the Irish and common law system's fiduciary comes from equity. It's not from the constitutional wording itself. Like Ireland, when it was set up back then, it was set up mirroring the system it just left, common law. We never left that, and the illusion just lived on. So the tradition goes back to the English Court of Chancery, and it's still reflected in texts like Schnell's Equity and Lewin on Trusts. And these works define a fiduciary as someone who must act in good faith, avoid conflicts of interest, not profit from their position, and act from the benefit for the benefit of another. That's the foundation of what's going on here. So how does all this connect to the state, might you ask? So, while Irish law doesn't explicitly label judges or lawyers as fiduciaries in the same way as trustees, the concept overlaps strongly with constitutional principles under Bunrat na hÉireann. Article 6, all powers derive from the people. Article 34, justice is administered in courts established by law. Article 40, the state guarantees to defend personal rights. So when you interpret this through an equity law lens, you get a powerful idea. Those exercising power are doing so in the trust for the people. And that's where my fiduciary argument gains weight, like. So, the usufructuary concept. Usufruct comes from Roman law, and the right to use something without owning it while preserving its substance. So this idea appears in civil law systems and indirectly in common law through stewardship concepts. So the public office is not the ownership of power, it's the temporary stewardship, and it's exercised for the benefit of the people. And that aligns philosophically with constitutional governance, public trust doctrine, equitable principles. But you won't see them use these terms in courts, like. They'll present it as a principle, not as a claim of black letter law. So there is a long-standing principle within equity and trust laws reflected in authorities such as Schnell's Equity and Lewin on Trusts. And those entrusted with power must act in good faith, avoid conflicts, and act solely for the benefit of those to whom the duty is owed. So while the Constitution does not explicitly use the term fiduciary, it's clear under Bunrat na hÉireann that all sovereign power derives from the people and that all public authority is exercised on their behalf. And this gives rise to a clear principle: public office is not a position of ownership, but of trust and stewardship. And those who administer justice, interpret the law, or act within the legal system must therefore ensure that their actions remain aligned with the protection of constitutional rights, the administration of justice, and the benefit of the people from whom all authority is derived. And where this alignment is unclear, it's both reasonable and necessary to seek clarification. So the law of the land, it's not really been educated to anyone in school, is it? You don't learn about your constitution. So these lawyers and barristers and solicitors and judges, and they're trained at law. They're the highest trained in this land. The highest level. They know the law inside out. They understand equity and trust. They understand it all, and they're not speaking up at a time when they should be. You know? So they need to be, people need to let them know, we know what's going on here, and they need to be put back in their place. If we're going to keep playing this game, let's just play it properly and stop breaking your own rules. Stop breaking your own laws and uphold the Constitution as it should. Do you want me to read something? Will I read out a notice, a formal notice to these people? To the judges and solicitors and barristers and lawyers of area. On the 17th of March 2026, 8:56 p.m. I'm not coming to you with politeness or performance. I'm coming to you with truth and the weight of what's happening in this country right now. You sit in one of the highest positions of this state. You're not there to facilitate systems, and you're not there to rubber stamp process. You're there to uphold the Constitution. in full, without compromise, in every case that comes before you. You took an oath to do that. You all did. And you know the law and you know it deeply. You were trained in equity and trust law through authorities like Schnell's Equity and Lewin on Trusts. And you understand exactly what it means when power is held on behalf of others. You understand good faith, no conflict, no unjust enrichment, and the absolute obligation to act in the interests of those to whom the duty is owed. So don't tell me this is unfamiliar territory when you already know this. What I'm asking is simple. Why does that understanding seem to disappear when it comes to the people of this country? So, because right now, men and women are being pushed out of their own land. Families are losing their homes and housing has been turned into a commodity, bought and traded by financial entities that have no connection to the people, the land, or the life of this country. Banks and so-called vulture funds are coming in, acquiring property at scale, and the courts are facilitating the enforcement of those structures. And that's where you come in. Because under Bunrock Nahairn, all sovereignty comes from the people, and not from the banks, and not from investment funds, and not from external financial systems, but from the people. And that means the Constitution stands above all of it. It means that the family is recognised as the fundamental unit of society. It means the dwelling is supposed to be protected. It means the law is there to serve the people and not to enable their displacement. So when a case comes before you involving repossession, enforcement, or the loss of a home, I have to ask, are you fully upholding the Constitution? Are you examining the rights of the people in front of you, or are you just moving through procedure? Are you applying real scrutiny, real proportionality, real protection of the home, or are you allowing financial interests to take priority over human life? Because if that protection has not been actively applied, then the Constitution has not been upheld, it's been sidelined. And let's be very clear about something. No bank, no fund, no financial institution has the authority to override the Constitution of this country. None of them. They can't come into Ireland and treat it as an asset to be exploited. And they cannot come in and strip homes from the people while the courts stand back and call it process. That is not justice. You don't hold your position owners of power as owners of power. You hold it in trust, and that's the very principle you are trained in. And right now that trust has been tested. You are the line where law meets reality, where contracts meet constitutional rights, and where financial systems meet human lives. And if you do not hold that line, then there is nothing left between the people and the system that will take everything from them. That is not abstract, that is happening now. And people can feel it, and they can see it, and they are losing trust, not just in government, but in courts themselves. And once that trust is gone, the system doesn't stand. So this is not a polite request. This is a call for you to fully step into your role you have been given, to apply the Constitution as a supreme law, not as a reference point, to ensure that no financial structure, no matter how powerful, is allowed to override the rights of the people of this country. Because the Irish people are not assets, their homes are not commodities, and this land is not to be usufruct by financial interests, with those entrusted with its protection remain silent, or while those entrusted with its protection remain silent. You know your duty, so now uphold it. Can you do that? Because that's your jobs. You're supposed to. So do it.